Hello, and welcome to issue 625 of Geek and City Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Duran.
I'm one of your other hosts, Beanarita.
And I am your other host, Cable Hashitani.
How's it going, everybody?
Woo! Busy week.
Yes.
I'm getting the general impression that we're all eager for tonight's show, and yet we're all tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that is a safe assumption of the vibe as it exists tonight.
I think it's because Cable's always had to go right from work to this.
Right. But
I
didn't realize you also, Aaron, started some new work this week.
Yeah. So I am in a weird twist of fate with Denise. I am now working a part-time quasi-sales job for Reverend Nat.
Stole my job!
I do believe I am making a fraction of what you would have been paid.
I mean, I don't want to compare dicks right now, but but you're doing this in a very different capacity than what I was doing. Is that
I'm actually not even doing sales.
I didn't get into details with him because I was already waiting to accept a different job offer. But it was nice of him to be like, "Hey, if you don't, resent me, would you consider coming back?"
And it's not going to be like a permanent thing anyway, so it's kind of perfect for what I need.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was also temporary.
I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming it is because essentially what I am doing is I'm not doing sales, but it'll be in the capacity of the sales department. I don't think this is private because literally every store and bar they ever service got this email that says RevNats is being distributed through a different company now.
That's on social media.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he posted that. Yeah, they're at Point Blank. So I'm essentially doing I don't know, the equivalent of the Goodwill tour, where we're hitting all the places hey, you've been a loyal customer for so long, and we know the past year it's been really hard to get our stuff. Well, guess what? Now it's even easier. Here's a 4-pack of samples. Here's all the ciders coming out and stuff like that. Here's the seasonal stuff. I don't think I spend more than 10 minutes at any spot. A couple times, a buyer just wants to hang out and chat, and I'll hang, and that's if they want to crack those open and taste them with you right there, and you spend a half an hour or 45 minutes, he's like, do it. I don't care. Just, he's like, or if they just want you to drop it off, do that. So
yeah, have fun. It is a very fun and interesting thing to do. The bartender at B-Side is a really nice gal, by the way, and I hope you get to meet her and enjoy her company. She's lovely.
That would be cool. Yeah, the weird one is going into different Fred Meyer stores.
Yeah, grocery stores were always my least favorite. No, I take that back. C-stores, convenience stores were my least favorites. Grocery stores are different, but not bad.
No, they're not bad. You just feel like you're getting in someone's way.
Yes, you're literally...
Because you are.
Yeah.
They're trying to do their job, and you're trying to do yours, and those two things are not exactly compatible on the fly.
Right. Yeah. It's not like I'm just going to some rando in the grocery store. It's I look, you look for the one who does the buying of beer for the store.
Mm-hmm. No, you'll be fine. You have
it's fine.
Charm and tact. And...
No, it was great. One of the guys that I actually chatted with at one of the Fred Meyer was super excited. And in fact, I had to tell him I have to go.
Well, also, it sounds like you're not specifically trying to get them to buy. You're just letting them know that there's been a change, and that maybe that would make them easier for them to be buyers.
Yeah, and literally everywhere I've gone to where I've spoken with the buyer, they have all universally been, oh, thank God, we can get your stuff again. Fantastic, a lot of that. A lot of, no one's man, we really wish you were still with the other place. They're all thank God.
No, quite the opposite. I did not excel at my job sometimes because of that other distributor. So.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm very excited for Nat and for the business to have finally been able to make this transition, because it was a long time in the works. So
yeah, so it's pretty cool. The other thing I can say, because we've talked about me doing a collaboration with him, is that I should see the labels for that show up sometime this week. So that'll be
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
That'll be really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I do know some secret things that I can't talk about. Ooh.
Right. That's, it's par for the course.
Just like someone else is going to know secret things they won't be able to talk about one day.
I already know secret things. So many. I know so many secrets, you guys. No, I'm just kidding. But I am allowed to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Now that I know, what I can and cannot say and what
now
have you.
And that paperwork has been signed.
Yes. So I just yesterday, Monday, started my new job full time as Kelly Sue DeConnick and like to some degree also Matt Fraction's house manager. Like ostensibly it's like a personal assistant gig, but it's a lot more myriad than that. And so I'm part of the milk-fed criminal masterminds team now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It was it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was super excited to try, but I did not. I don't know. I never imagined a day where I work for like some of my favorite writers. So it's very exciting, and also now I get to know all their secrets.
Oh.
I think the term
Super
for what you are doing, or my favorite particular term for what you're doing is major domo.
That is a term that you could use for that, which is funny because that is a term that they use in their
Oh yeah.
In their things. Not for me, but it is a term that is used in their vernacular.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked. It's one of those Scrabble high word scores, I think.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all cool stuff.
Yeah. Also, I get to hang out with 3 enormous pups every day. So that's also very exciting.
I get to see pups, I guess, every once in a while. Because some of the bars before they open, spoilers, just let their dogs hang out while they're prepping the bar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, one of my stops took a lot longer than it should have because I was playing with the dog. This one bar was literally like, hey, I have to go check on this. Do you want to play with the dog? Yes, I will play with the dog.
And ostensibly, I'll get to know the kids more once I'm able to spend more time with them, because that'll be a little bit part of it too. And that's always exciting because I don't have enough children in my own personal life.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and they're both at the age where they're interesting now.
Yes, they both like they were part of my interview process, and they're both absolute people, like full on individuals.
Oh yeah,
and it's
fun.
It's awesome.
I've only met the one, and you already know what my opinion is on him.
Mm-hmm. And you're not wrong. They're both great kids, and I look forward to getting to know them better.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, besides us all, like, ooh, I just yelled that really loud, like, besides talking about new jobs and whatnot, what else are we just doing? Just the deep Shang-Chi dive?
I think so, if that's fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be all Shang-Chi all night.
Nice.
Shang.
Oh, I did it again. Oh, Shang-Chi.
Oh, no.
On my way home, I was listening to the they call us re-listening to the They Call Us Bruce interview with Simu Liu, and he had to correct both of them on they mispronounced both Shang-Chi and Simu Liu, and he's like, guys, I cannot give you any quarter. It's like, if it were any other 2 people on the planet, sure, I would just let it slide. It's like, you're this podcast. You guys have to pronounce it correctly.
Right. That was really funny. I did listen to that one. I also listened to a later episode that is specifically about the movie. So like there was the episode that was Simu Liu's interview, and then I don't know, like 3 or 4 episodes later, just a strictly Shang-Chi review conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it to each other. Where one, I forget which one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Phil kept saying Shang, uh, and
Actually, it was Jeff.
Jeff. Okay,
Jeff Yang kept pronouncing it Shang-Chi.
so then Phil
I
must have
think
been the one who
partially
corrected
on
him.
purpose. Yeah. I think they were doing a bit.
Oh yeah,
Because they were also, when their press junket, they interviewed both Simu and Dave Callahan, who's the screenwriter, and they were told by the handler beforehand, it's like, and just so that we're all on the same page, it is pronounced Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and they both kind of sat there going, is this white woman telling us how to pronounce a Chinese name?
And then in the Shang-Chi episode, one of the other guests talks about, like, well, you have to relearn, or you have to learn to decolonize your brain. Like, you can be from a particular ethnic group and default to saying things essentially like white people do, because I don't know, because it feels like a spectacle. There's something sometimes that draws attention to you when you say things correctly versus saying them the way an American person would in an American accent.
The first 5 years of my adult life, I spent relearning how to correctly pronounce my own last name.
How did you used to say it?
I pronounce it like everyone in my hometown still pronounces it, Hashitani.
Oh,
sounds awful, doesn't it?
It does. It does. That almost sounds like, that almost feels like it's specific to the region. Like it has, like a dialect type situation.
It's an American pronunciation. That's why both my father and my grandfather's nicknames were Hash. Because they think that's how that A is pronounced when it's Hashi Tani.
Right. Well, see, no, because what I mean is, like, I guess in my mind, the American way of saying your name is just Hashitani. It's, I don't know, it's a little smooth. It's kind of like all the edges are buffed out, almost like you're being lazy about saying Hashitani, in a more proper.
I think that's because I'm the person who taught you how to say my name, and it's the Japanese pronunciation and not the American pronunciation.
Yeah. Although I don't think I ever used the wrong pronunciation when I first met you.
You hadn't, but you also have exposure to how to pronounce Asian names.
That is true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. This sounds like a line, but I grew up with quite a few Japanese and Asian friends.
I'm not shocked.
I got good at that. It's actually kind of weird how many Asian people are in Susanville.
Yeah,
like I know, right?
Is it a farming community? Or is it that was where they managed to move to after they got let out of the camps?
I don't know. It was a lumber town first.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it had some farms and ranches, but it was a lumber town and then a prison town. But I could actually see a little bit like maybe after the camps, they're all like, maybe we don't want to live right on the West Coast, but we want to stay in California.
Yeah, that was a lot of it. Yeah. Like if you were that close to the coast, you got moved into a camp. That's why my grandparents didn't get moved, because they were already in far enough inland that they weren't deemed a threat.
Right. Yeah. But I get what you mean. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, back to Bean's point, it does take work to decolonize one's names and pronunciations and get it back to where it's supposed to be.
I mean, my whole family even gave up. Like, my first name technically should be pronounced Aron. But even my family, like, they just gave up. They're like, we're tired of correcting people.
It's just Aaron.
It's just Aaron. Like, since I was a little kid, it has always been Aaron. And then one day I was watching, like, a cooking show, like, in my mid-20s. And I asked my mom, I was like, why is his name Aaron? Why do they say it that way? And she's like, that's how they should be saying it. I was like, well, how come you never called me that? She's like, we gave up. Like, no one would do it. Or they'd ask, why do you say Aaron wrong or weird? So
I got lucky in that, like, my name is kind of fine the way it is in English.
Right.
You pronounce it slightly differently in Spanish, but not by a ton. It hardly matters. But like my sister, for example, her name is Adriana, and it doesn't sound anything like that when you say it in English. When you say it in English, it's Adriana. It's just
right.
blah, blah, blah.
I like that. Yeah.
Adriana.
Yeah.
I don't think she's much of a fan of her name either.
No. Well, it's a pretty name.
She's an adult. She can change it.
I mean, she won't. She'll just live with it, but she's antisocial, so it doesn't matter. Where was I going with that? I don't know.
Having to decolonize your name.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess.
Names are sacred.
And I've spent a lot of time thinking about what names I would give my kids, because I want, if when I have children, I want them to have names that are neither hard for my Mexican, relatives to pronounce, but I also don't want them to feel othered in a white society just because of their name.
At a time that I thought that kids were in my future, I went the complete opposite direction of that.
Yeah.
The name, my number one name for a child is from DC Comics, and it's the name for the Martian god of death, and that's Horonmir.
Whew.
That is a challenge.
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing.
Mm-hmm. But then he could also have the nickname Ronnie. Or her, I guess. Either
true.
would work.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time I ever maybe have kids, I might totally do a 180 and be like, nah, fuck that. I'm naming you after my grandmother, Lucrecia. Have fun with that, white folks. There's probably harder, more complicated, more Spanishy names that I could put in there, but
yeah.
But I blanked at the last minute.
Or go even more hardcore and start picking Nawale names.
Like, that would be hard even for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of consonants that you have to roll around that are.
Remember how we had that D&D campaign and I gave my character a know-what
I do
style name and I can barely pronounce it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting language to try and use.
It should feel natural, and it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. But also try spelling it out, which is why in Season of the Bruja and my Word doc, there are 10 different shortcut keys that spell various old words and names, because I got tired of spelling it and like trying to remember, like, how did I spell that? And and then having that moment of like, have I put 3 different spelling versions in the dictionary now that it now thinks are all the correct version?
Probably.
Yeah, no, I went through and cleaned them all up, actually. Yeah, but now I just use the shortcut. Just it has helped a lot.
Sack says that thanks to Neil Gaiman, he always thinks about naming kids something like anesthesia, or in cooperation with Terry Pratchett, anathema.
I always like the word anathema.
You do like that word.
I do like that word a lot. I always enjoy how it sounds. That and antediluvian.
Antediluvian? Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that is.
Hella old. Basically.
Is what it means.
I mean, kinda. I first came across it. Well, I probably came across it in Lovecraft writings that didn't stick with me. But it really showed up because when I started playing Vampire the Masquerade, the Antediluvians are the 3rd generations from Cain. They are the rulers of the clans.
Ever belonging to the time before the flood.
Yes. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I guess hella old also counts.
Norm says that in Texas, a weird thing to do is to get people who are not from Texas to pronounce Waxahachie.
Okay.
What's
Is
a
that how
weird
it's
looking
pronounced?
word? I think so. I guess Norm can tell us in a second or not if.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that is actually not how that word is pronounced.
I might be thinking of a different word because that's not the spelling. Now that I think about it, that's not the spelling I'm used to.
Okay. Yeah. There it is.
Okay, well, before we go down this rabbit
I know,
hole
we
of
gotta
just
stop,
pronouncing
so-
weird shit,
Yeah. Should we just dive into it?
Sure. I think it's should be said, if you still have not watched Shang-Chi, what's wrong with you? Also, this is going to be very spoiler heavy.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. Dancing around now. This is it.
I've seen it 3 times now, so
Yeah.
Me
I think- so that means like if we've had enough time to watch it repeatedly, you've had at least one chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much like it's on my. I'm buying a copy of it on DVD after the holidays. And that's what I thought. Wakahachi.
Right.
Hmm.
Hey, well, there you go.
Okay.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense to me, but it's, probably a native word, and I don't
I
know
think
that.
that's
It's a mixing of the two. It's a Spanishized native word.
yeah, that makes
I
sense.
believe it means Buffalo Creek. So when the Spanish found out it meant Buffalo Creek, they tried to add in, the vaca sound, and then it got converted back into
Oh,
yeah,
Bakahachi.
yeah.
Bakachi, probably, something like
Yeah.
that. Interesting.
Anyway,
Okay, for reals, because I will do this all night.
I know you are kind of a word nerd.
Word nerd.
Shocked
Word
at this.
nerd.
I used to call myself a wordsmith because I like to, make up new words and like push words together. But now that I hang out with writers, I don't know. That seems pretentious.
You never called yourself Word Girl after the superhero?
I never knew of a superhero named Word Girl.
It was.
Probably would
It's
have loved it.
It's on PBS. It was like a superhero for, it's an educational superhero.
That's cool. I don't remember that one either.
Word Girl. It's probably only 15 years old.
Oh, okay. So I
Oh,
probably
is it for
I have
babies?
aged out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have known about it because
Yeah, it
was
would have been for
definitely
would have been for kids who are now in their mid-20s.
Then yeah.
okay. I was doing other stuff at that time, so. Okay, for reals now. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the of the 10 Rings. I almost said the Chen Rings.
I
That
know.
was not easy for you to say.
So many words.
So I kind of wanted to break this down into topics that, because everyone else has done reviews on this movie now and talked about things. I think my number one thing is, what spoiler from this movie have you been sitting on this entire time? Or we're sitting on until you talk to someone who had also seen the movie?
Like that I haven't told anybody? What do you mean?
As in, you had to wait until you talked to someone who saw it, but you're still publicly not talking about it. Like, case in point, mine was, Aquafina is a fucking Avenger now?
Right. Yeah, I guess technically she is.
That's a good one. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
that was
I
the
think
first
this
thing I thought of.
I think the spoiler thing that I wasn't ready for, and then I kind of had to be like, really? That's how it went? Is that, and now thinking about it, knowing one of the things Marvel's doing, the MCU's doing, is that the Abomination basically works with Wu
Mm-hmm.
to. I don't know if it's like hey, we're gonna bet against you, like a scam thing, which would be great in and of itself.
Wait, are you talking about Jimmy Woo?
Not
Or are
Jimmy
you talking
Woo.
about Wong?
Wong. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Did you mix up your agents?
Dude, I am so tired. Remember, I know this is like the dumbest thing to complain about, but I haven't had to do a regular like on my foot all day job in like 3 years, so I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is rough. And I slept like crap.
Working is hard.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I forgot why I became a writer. I mean, that's not why, but that's a whole other
this
level
is
of
why
stress.
This is why I've been
It's a
cranky for the
physical
past
job.
2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Wong. Yeah, that was going to be their position together in that movie. Knowing what I know now, and that they are essentially setting up Thunderbolts,
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer surprised that. What?
Thunderbolts?
Thunderbolts is basically their bad guys are made to do good. It's their, for lack of a better term, it's Marvel's Suicide Squad.
AKA the Mean Avengers.
Yes.
That's what
Okay.
Dave Helfrey calls them.
Yeah, the Mean Avengers.
The
Yeah.
Mean Avengers.
No, that's someone. Yeah, Boba Fett 70. Maybe Abomination will be an Avenger. He'll be a Mean Avenger. Or if they do actually also end up going, there's also been rumors of it kind of taking some of Bendis' Dark Avenger storyline.
It's probably going to be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
We've like they took all the time to reintroduce Zemo, and Zemo is the leader of Thunderbolts,
Right.
which seems strange given his I don't want to have anything to do with you superpowered types. Fuck you.
Right.
But like we've got U.S. Agent, we have Yelena. We've got,
And we've got
who else?
Lady Hydra
Abomination.
basically.
Yep.
According
Hooking
to
them all
this image
together.
from Reddit, there's also the White Vision
Mhm.
and,
Oh, yeah.
and Deadpool. I'm assuming this is like a speculative piece of art. so-
Yeah, I don't imagine them
Everything.
putting. Yeah.
Unless it actually comes out of Kevin Feige's mouth, yes, it's all speculative.
Yeah.
I got really excited for a second until I realized that this piece of art was coming from the link is to Reddit. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, believe nothing on Reddit.
What?
I know that's shocking.
Okay, so that was mine.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
that's a good one. There have been a lot of when they dial back after the fights to go back to wherever, it appears as though it's going back to a Hulk Buster style cell that the Abomination is living in.
I'm guessing it's an extension of the raft
Mm-hmm.
that we saw. That somehow got built in like 3 months during Civil War.
And they they took the time to credit and bring back Tim Roth, which means no, they really do want to do this. They want to do this
Yeah.
right. It's not just a stunt.
Yeah.
Hi, cat.
So
If you hear
yeah,
purring, it's Manju. She's right here.
I do hear it. Yes. So yeah, what Bean? What did you have one?
I don't have one. I thought about it for a while, but like, again, and Shang-Chi is ostensibly a more obscure character than others that have been getting, movies and shows lately. So like the, Easter eggs are lost on me in that regard. So I, aside from like big obvious stuff, like Aquafina or like Benedict Wong jumping in at the end, and sort of looping them into the greater, Avenger grouping. I don't really have anything.
Yeah. What does Banner say? Welcome to the weird kid.
It says,
Or
welcome to the
freak
circus.
The circus.
Welcome to
Yeah.
the circus.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah,
I guess-
that would be mine, I think.
I guess one thing I could share or say, but I think I might have touched on it when we first talked about it in a more spoiler-free context, was I was not expecting the show to be so mystical. I mean, maybe the name should have like been a better clue, but I thought it was going to be, action adventure. But once they hit, the Italo and like the magic secret way that you get in, and the pendants that activate the water, magic water map,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the different creatures that live in Talo, and the dragons, all of that, I had not expected all of that. It was, to me, even more unexpected than how much this movie is. It's really more about like family and like reconnecting than it is about action adventure.
Oh shit! And Trevor, I didn't expect him to show up in the movie at all.
Didn't I tell both of you to watch that thing?
I don't think we watched it before seeing Shang-Chi.
Oh,
I think we watched it after the first in the movie.
Yeah, and I just also assumed I just assumed you were saying that to be familiarize yourself with like where they started that kind of thing, but that not that he was actually in the damn movie. So when I saw that, I went, "Whoa!" And then I think I
had heard, I had heard that Sir Ben Kingsley, was reprising his role in the movie. I didn't expect it to be the way that it was.
Right.
But it was also one of those things. It's like, I'm not talking to anybody about this. I'm just going to say, go watch Hail to the King. So that connective tissue is there. Because that has been the thing that they've been trying to do and like that advice didn't even come from me. I think Marvel was pushing, hey, Hail to the King is out. That's a thing that maybe you want to go watch before you go watch Shang-Chi.
Yeah, they were.
It's like,
yeah.
Why, Marvel?
Where was it released when it was first released?
Where
was it available?
It was a DVD extra on Thor: The Dark World.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And that runs like a couple nights ago, I rewatched Iron Man 3 to kind of like also... I kind of wanted to have all that fresh in my mind, like Iron Man 3 to Hail to the King to Shang-Chi, and just get it going from there.
That would have been clever.
I think of the Iron Man movies, that's the one that I've watched rewatched the most. I think I've seen it at least 3 to 4 times.
It's so good.
I only just watched it for the first time, I think, when I did my big Marvel rewatch.
And then you went, why didn't I watch this in the first place?
Well, I don't know if we had enough time to. I don't love it as much as some other Iron Man movies or even other Marvel movies. The way that they did his PTSD thing was a bit...
It's very heavy-handed.
For me. It is very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Most of what Marvel puts out is heavy-handed because they know their audience. And there's a lot of their audience that needs that hand-holding.
I don't feel like most of their movies are heavy-handed. I don't know. Maybe it's because that particular thing is a bit more relatable for me.
Sure.
Like I have more first and second-hand experience with it that I'm like, all right, you've made your point. We can move on. But other stuff, maybe not so much, so I don't pick up on it in the same way.
That's fair.
I end up finding most of their fare is heavy-handed. I was like, okay, I get the point. I get the point that you're trying to do. There's some that are a little more subtle, but there's still a lot of
hand-holding.
Yeah. And it's not... I'm not putting a knock against people who like Marvel movies, because I'm one of them. But you are playing to a much... right. Marvel fans who are comic readers and Marvel movie fans are two different audiences. And whereas like Marvel comic readers are a subset of the Marvel Cinematic Universe fandom. And when you're dealing with that broad of an audience, and you're a studio as big as Marvel and Disney, you tend to go, yeah, let's go ahead and play to the lowest common denominator, when really they should they should stop doing that, because the more you underestimate your audience, the more you make, the more that people like Ridley Scott can take pot shots at your movies.
You know,
And say
the guy
that's
that
not
the guy
art.
that made Prometheus should probably shut up about making about.
Aw. Aw,
No,
come
I
on.
100% agree.
No, Prometheus is
Because
bad. Sorry.
I'm not. I'm not going to come at it from that angle. I'm going to come at it from the angle of watching all these behind the scenes stuff about Shang-Chi and watching the behind the scenes stuff on The Mandalorian. I don't think it's a matter of they're wrong or right about whether or not it's art. I think it's they no longer understand the art of movie making, because it is evolving to a degree that they don't understand it. When you
Well,
listen to, sorry, go ahead.
let's say what's funny is that the ones that are kind of saying that are kind of talking the most trash are the ones that all came out of that early like USC film school that in the 70s were being ripped apart by directors from the 40s and 50s. Like these young kids, they don't know how the studio system works. They're just out there with their, 16 millimeter camera and they're just filming crap. And it's like, yeah, now you are the angry old man yelling at clouds kind of thing. Like, and it's not a good look.
Right. It's that old
Especially-
school gatekeeper mentality.
Yeah.
Yep. And there are certainly arguments to be had about, is this art, is it not art? Because that's always the truth with all art, is there's the argument of like, is this art? But I really think it starts to boil down to they like you're talking about, it's the old school. They do not understand how film is evolving. Like
Yeah.
you watch the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, where you watch The Mandalorian, it's like, oh, this was directed by so-and-so, and this was directed by so-and-so, and this was directed by so-and-so. And then you find out, no, it wasn't. All 6 of those directors were on set all the time. Those are collaborative directions. Right. And watching the stuntmen react videos to Shang-Chi and watching some of the what is it, the assembled show on Disney Plus. Cretton was not a in the bubble director. He was not this is my way and no one else. When it came to the fight scenes, the people who Cretton didn't direct those, he oversaw the direction, but the people who directed that were the people who choreographed it, because they had already shot those same scenes 20 different times.
Yeah.
Before it even got to the movie. So like from practice stunt work to previs to, okay, this is what the final fight is going to look like. Now we have to do it with the actual actors. It's like that's a lot more collaborative than Ridley Scott would have done.
Right.
Because he's just like, no, this is my artwork. This is my movie. I don't mean to just pick on Ridley Scott, but his was the most recent.
I was just saying, like, Norm in the chat is also saying, like, oh, Ridley Scott's best days are behind him. Raised by Wolves, that HBO show that he did, like, didn't even get going until he got out of the way. I'm like, I'm not, like, defending Ridley Scott. I'm not, like, a huge, like, Ridley Scott fan. He's obviously putting his foot in has put his foot in his mouth recently, and kind of a dumb shit with some really dumbass comments rather than just, like, admit he made a movie nobody wanted to see.
Right.
Because the last duel flopped and he's blaming millennials. But he also did the House of Gucci same year release, and that was a hit. And he's done a lot of really, really good stuff, including semi-recent stuff like The Martian, which we all fucking loved.
Yeah, The Martian's great.
I never saw it.
Oh, it's so good.
It helps that he's working on amazing source material.
That's true. The Martian is an incredible book, and so as long as you try to stay true to that story, it's hard to fuck it up. But
right, and the thing with Ridley Scott, and I've said this for years back when this show was fucking called Film Fever Radio, because Scott's a big Ridley Scott fan, but even he is like, dude, Ridley, shut up for a little while, all right? Just shh, quiet.
also
Um,
84. You know, you're gonna fuck up.
yeah. That being
Culturally.
said, he's never made an ugly movie. Like, he is very talented with the camera. His visual storytelling is almost without equal out there. You can
Is
never
he his
see.
own
You can
director
never.
of photography?
No, but he does help set it up a lot,
Okay.
and he has very much a vision and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You'll never see a Ridley Scott movie and think, "Oh, it was okay," but boy, was it just not good, not fun to watch. Like, you're never going to say that about one of his movies. Um,
This is true. Prometheus was gorgeous.
yeah, it's just awful, and it makes no sense.
Confusing.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But gorgeous.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that with Denis Villeneuve. Like, he's batting 1,000 in terms of like beautiful
Aesthetic.
films, aesthetics, and thankfully he's all he's everywhere else is good too. But, huh? Aesthetics.
Aesthetic.
Yeah, but I also know that what's his name, Scorsese, took a shot at him too. I did love it when Scorsese took a shot at streaming services ruining cinema, and then 6 months later went on a promo tour for The Irishman, which was a Netflix exclusive thing. All of a sudden, he was okay with it.
I'm like, yeah, either fucking like, shake your fist at it or get on the train. But
Yeah.
you can't really do both and like come out on top. I don't know.
It's funny, and then we should probably get back to the Shang-Chi really quick, but I think the Swedish actor Stellan Skarsgård, who have been in a couple Marvel movies, he was recently in Dune. He was asked about that, and I really liked his answer. It basically boiled down to, he's like, I've got nothing against superhero movies. He's like, I have been in a couple. He's like, they're fun. We need those. They're roller coaster movies, and we should have more of those. He's like, the problem is that you've got the studio system basically run by 8 people, like the 8 richest people in the world. And unless you can, all they want are blockbusters anymore. So those quieter mid-budget movies just aren't getting made anymore. And that's kind of a lot of where all these old directors kind of cut their teeth, was making those movies. And studios, I think even Kevin Smith said this once. He said it's easier to get a $100 million greenlit than it is a $10 million movie. Because they see those massive numbers, so they think blockbuster. They think $1 billion profit. If you tell them $10 million movie, they're like, I don't think there's a market for it. And they just won't do it.
I don't know that that's really true, though, that like, there's nowhere to make like an art film anymore. I mean,
in the U.S., there is not.
What about A24? Are they not a U.S. company?
But see, that kind of thing is, and those are actually considered low budget movies. And that's different. What I'm talking about is the mid budget ones, like the ones that would they do well enough. There are good chances for people to try stuff out. And that's actually kind of happening in a weird way with like Marvel movies, in that they'll find a darling director who made an amazing low budget movie, give them a massive blockbuster, and then kind of also make them stop filming in their own style. I keep thinking about the Eternals. They hired her because they love her vision, and then it felt like that they hampered her, like, no, you have to make a Marvel movie. She's like, well, why did you hire me to do this then? Kind of thing.
Have you seen the Eternals yet, Aaron? Okay.
Yeah. One way that will help if you go see the Eternals, either A, wait for it to get on Disney Plus or on Blu-ray, which is a bummer, because Jiang loves natural light so much. Like, everything in that movie is almost always shot at the golden hour, which makes for beautiful cinematography. But it also requires theaters to turn their bulbs up to 100%. And since bulbs last, this is very technical and nerdy, but since bulbs last longer, if you turn them down, every complaint you heard about the Eternals looking dark and muddy is probably the theater's fault.
I don't remember feeling like it was too dark.
That was one of the complaints I would come across a lot, which was interesting. But yeah, so anyway, that's just kind of where I'm at, I guess. So
yeah, I'm with Bean. That was not my film going experience. We were in the same theater.
Right. And I feel like I remember all of the conversations and articles surrounding that director, being like, yeah, we wanted it to feel different, and that's why we hired a more artistic director, and that's what we got.
Right.
Chloe Zhao.
Thank you. I knew it was Chloe something. And then that's why then they're going to keep doing that, right? We talked about how they're hiring the director who did Promising Young Woman is going to direct a Zatanna.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm only seeing, like the sugar-coated articles about the situation, but I had been under the impression that, like, no, we're trying to, like, get a little bit more diverse in the way we tell stories, both in terms of writing and visually, artistically, and that's why they're
doing
they are that, and that so far it's working. So, I don't know. Anyway, back to Shang-Chi.
All of this is related. It's not like we've moved away from it.
No, for sure. It does have some, like, visually stunning stuff. It's not the most beautiful movie I've seen in a while. I'm blanking. I feel like there was something I saw somewhat recently that I was like, oh my god, it was absolutely beautiful to watch, and now I can't even think of the title. But Shang-Chi is lovely. It has some, like, really good visual effects and scenes. The Ta Lo stuff especially.
Yeah.
And that was, they actually built that town. They built the village.
Yeah, that was really cool to see. I love how they were talking about how like there's a particular house in the village that is very detailed. They even, like, put in this really beautiful floor. You don't go into that house for the whole film. It's just over there. And they did it. They built the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
I kind of want to travel to there and see this village that they built. It's in Australia, I believe.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, a lot of stuff getting filmed in Australia
because they have fewer outbreaks of COVID, and
even before that, they have really, really friendly film taxes, and especially if you have a very international cast and crew, it's just better all around.
For now,
to film there. For now, yeah. But yeah, I want to play on the bus rig.
That was.
I didn't realize that bus fight took them 6 months to film.
I didn't realize that they filmed it. They filmed the entire movie in sequence, which doesn't happen anymore.
Not really. But I can see why this one actually might be easier to film it in sequence because A, it doesn't go back and forth between San Francisco and China. So it does make sense to just, you know what, let's just film as it's written because we're not revisiting sets kind of thing. So,
and then that they filmed everything through the bus sequence and then COVID hit and they closed production.
Yeah.
And it was almost a year, I think, before they were able to start filming again.
Yeah.
And they just started in Macau and went forward.
Right. Yeah.
That was fascinating.
That was really cool. Yeah, so what are some of the other things I'm going over your list again here.
Oh, well, it was definitely the spoiler thing. Just to go backwards, I still need to emphasize that Awkwafina is now an Avenger. I know I wouldn't hammer that point home, nor would I really say that, except at no point was she ever treated as the plucky sidekick.
No, that was something that we've, you in particular, Cable, have mentioned a lot, is that all of the characters, not all the characters, but everyone on the team essentially has a storyline that they
Mhm.
are living through in this movie. You know, for Mengerzang, it's the, you know, like, I had to build my own empire because I was left out. For Aquafina, it's
Mhm.
the, like, I don't have a direction in life, and then all of a sudden she's like amazing at this one thing.
There's a couple points. One, it's apparently Munger's.
Thank you.
I didn't realize it until I was watching Assembled. Um, it wasn't until the third watching of Shang-Chi that I'm reminded that Aquafina's character Katie has a master's degree. We don't know or an honors degree. We don't know what in, but
Like,
Yeah.
an honors?
she
Doesn't she say you're
graduated
the-
college with all honors.
Yeah, I think it's a master's, but she graduated with honors.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they
So-
said you're the only person ever, who now parks cars for a living.
Right. So we don't, and she admits to herself, it's like, oh, I know my limits, so I just stop when I get good at things. It's like, so you do get good at things.
Yeah,
It's weird that someone with that type of mentality wouldn't even have finished a master's, and let alone, you know, finish it with honors.
Right. So it's, I think that's where we have to start separating Aquafina from the character of Katie, because the character of Katie is written very differently than what we, the public, are familiar with Aquafina being. The only person that I think that is more representative of what we think of when we think of Aquafina is John, played by Ronnie Chang, because his character is 100% Aquafina's character from like Crazy Rich Asians.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, she's pretty over the top in that one.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Like, I thought it was really interesting when they shared in the Assembled episode that they cast Aquafina before they were even done auditioning for
Mhm.
the part of Shang-Chi.
Which I have a list of who else they were considering.
Oh, did you take that down?
Yeah, I did.
Let's have it.
So there's Ludi Lin, who played. Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. He's from Mortal Kombat.
He's pretty.
Oh, he probably did he play Liu Kang?
He played Liu Kang.
Okay.
Thank you. Stephen Yeun from
I mean,
The
they're
Walking
all going to
Dead.
be pretty. They were potential Marvel movie stars.
Yep. Mike
He's a
Mole.
little old for this role, but okay.
Wait, Stephen
Little bit.
Lin?
Stephen Yen
Stephen
Oh
Yeun.
yeah.
from The
Yeah.
Walking Dead.
Then there's Mike Moe. Mike Moe played Bruce Lee in fuck that guy's movie.
Oh, right.
I have zero love for Quentin Tarantino these days.
I
Sorry.
don't either.
I don't give a shit.
I don't.
Alex Landy, who's I think he's from show about the doctors, Grey's Anatomy. Ross Butler.
The show that won't ever go away, you mean?
Ever.
Yeah, apparently. Ross Butler, I didn't recognize. And then Lewis
Isn't
Tan.
he on Riverdale?
He is.
Yes, Ross Butler
I
is
was
on
like,
Riverdale. Thank you.
I know that face.
Lewis Tan was the last one, and Lewis Tan was also in Mortal Kombat.
All right, the only one I didn't find was Mike Moe.
Moh is how you
Ah.
put it. Yep, Mike
I'm like,
Moh.
that's a white guy. Like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know him from anything.
Yeah, he was from
There were
Once
some
Upon a
good
Time in
options
Hollywood.
here for sure.
But
Some for me are
Wait,
a
did-
definite no, but
Was Lewis Tan what's his name in Deadpool 2?
oh, he's a rat.
From
Oh.
from Mojo World.
Wait, where is
Shatterstar?
he?
Spiral. Oh, it's Shatterstar.
Yeah. I'm like you, but better.
I don't know.
I think he might be.
Oh my god, he was
Yeah.
Shatterstar.
Yeah, Shatterstar. What a stupid character. I never laughed so hard. I laughed more when he died than when the Vanisher died, which was still hilarious too.
Yeah, Lewis Tan was also in one episode of Iron Fist. He had originally auditioned for the part of the fuck is
Danny?
Danny. Yeah, he had auditioned for Danny Rand,
I'm
which
looking
would
at
have
all
been
the
great.
I'm looking at a bunch of like headshots and photos of Louis Tan. I feel like he has a permanent blue steel face. He's always kind of going,
Kind of, yeah.
He is alarmingly ripped.
Mm-hmm.
well,
That's
yeah, it's,
he can perform his own martial arts stunts because
Yeah.
he's one of those guys. Like his father was a stuntman and stunt performer, and so he kind of grew up in the life.
Like Ross Butler for me is a no. Mike Moe, I don't know. And I think Steven Yeun, I love Steven Yeun, but I think he's too old for this character.
I think it came down to comedic timing, and
Yeah.
Simu was the only one that had that.
right.
Mhm.
And I would argue at this point, now having watched the movie 3 times and kind of really dug into this, I don't think that movie works if it's not Simu.
Because he has that comedic element to him.
I think it's also because he effortlessly, it appears effortless the way he plays Shang-Chi. And watching all the backstories, all the behind the scenes, it was not effortless for him. It was, he put in the
No.
work every day.
I feel bad for laughing, but every time you see him being stretched, he's going, "No, I hate you."
damn. Yep.
Yeah,
And
in some
it's
ways,
funny-
becoming more flexible is more painful than becoming buff.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny that the person who did all that training was Andy Lay, who
Who's
played
Death Dealer.
Death Dealer, who did all of Death Dealer was the brutal trainer of Shang-Chi.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like I really enjoy that parallel.
I also love
No,
how
it-
Death Dealer had like the least epic death. Like the trailers really make you think there's going to be a throwdown. Nah.
Mhm.
Just gets killed by the demon. Wah,
That
wah.
seems to be one of those sticking points that people are like, "Oh, I hate it. He didn't like he should have had the epic fight." And it's like that was the whole point, was to subvert that trope.
Yeah.
And to give the 10 rings the opportunity to go, "Oh, we need to switch sides right now."
Yeah. Totally.
It took out our best guy in a second. We're switching teams. Go pick up a dragon scale weapon now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I think that was one of the smarter writing choices.
Yeah. I think
but-
the other thing, you're right. It doesn't work without. If you don't have Simu,
Mhm.
Shang-Chi doesn't work potentially because if you don't have an actor that has natural comedic timing and is able to kind of deliver that look, they're able to give that kind of like, what? Like they're able to give that, like the part when he shows up in the fight ring and she's like, "How come your shirt's off?" And he's like, "I don't know. That's what they just did."
That's what
Which-
they talked about on that episode of They Call Us Bruce. Is that it's not just that he's funny; it's that he has his style of comedy is reactive.
Mhm.
It's
And
it's
physical.
funny because of what's like the situational the thing that's going on and how he responds to it. He's not trying to make a joke or like throw
Right.
out a bunch of one-liners. He's just living in the scene and he makes it funny.
Yeah, and if he's not good at that, you can't act opposite Aquafina if you can't do that.
You also can't act opposite Tony Leung or
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh. You
Yeah.
cannot do that.
Oh my god. I don't know that I've ever seen anything else that Tony Leung has been in, but he is a wonderful actor.
I think we've had this breakdown. Cable and I have a list of Tony Leung movies you could watch if you'd like.
Yeah,
Very
most of them
well.
are directed by Wong Kar-wai.
Yeah.
The number one thing I think, and they share this in that Avengers Assembled doc, is how so there's the scene where Tony Leung meets I'm gonna forget her name because she's
Katie.
apparent. No. The mom, the
Oh,
mom that they fridge.
Ying Li.
Mhm.
Ying Li. So they meet outside of Talo, and they have that beautiful, like Crouching Tiger style fight. And in that scene, you are seeing him fall in love with her,
Mhm.
and vice versa. And then that fight scene is mirrored between Tony Leung and Simu Liu at the end, near the end, and not only are the sequences mirrored, but also Tony Leung's expressions are mirrored, and
Mhm.
so they show them, like, like side to side, and the way he is both duplicating himself from one scene versus the other, but also expressing two very different emotions. And
Mhm.
that fight for them is like is like the pinnacle of the relationship that he's ever going to have with his son. And so it's really heartbreaking to see him realize that that's what's happening. Like, to see, like, oh, my son is like coming into his own, and he's better than me. He's a better fighter, and he's like, I imagine anyway that he is like, well, he's right. He is being a better person than me right
Mhm.
now by fighting me in this and winning. And it's probably over for me soon, but I'm also really proud. There's just
Yeah.
so much. There's just so much that
The
goes into one facial expression, and there's no words. No words.
yeah. Every time I see it in my head, I think that um what's going through Wenwu's head when he's having that final fight with his son, especially that scene again. It mirrors the first fight he had with his eventual wife. It's a I'm going to lose because I have forgotten her place in my heart, but my son
Mhm.
has not.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's his emotion. That is what leads to his physical defeat. Is the I forgot about her. I became obsessed with her while losing her at the same time, kind of thing.
I
So
love that there's a Lego of him.
that's pretty cool.
Um, a couple points. The style of the first fight scene in Shang-Chi, Denise, is called wuxia.
Yeah.
It refers to the films like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where it is a martial arts film, but it is also deeply entrenched in fantasy.
Mm.
And that entire scene is the thing that the reason they created that scene is to show you exactly what kind of martial arts movie Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was about to be. You were talking before where you weren't expecting any of that, and that was shorthand for the filmmakers to go, this is the kind of martial arts movie we're making. And people
Yeah.
familiar with wuxia movies went, oh, well, I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay,
Yeah,
where's this gonna go?
that was me because like in the trailers, the only fights you really see are maybe a little bit in the club in
It's
Macau,
mostly the bus.
and it's the
Mostly the
bus.
bus.
So you're at I mean I went bonkers over that. That looked great.
Yeah,
But I love that style of like Chinese fantasy martial arts films. So when it basically opens with that, I was like, oh, oh, we're gonna get Chinese fantasy also.
hmm
Awesome.
I see. And I didn't really pick up on that because I only have ever seen that one movie when it was new.
hmm
I did not know it was a whole genre essentially.
Oh man.
You'll have to send me the spelling on that because I would like to know more.
It's Wuxia, wuxia.
There's a bunch of them on Netflix because they still make them like crazy in China and in Korea.
I
Korea
have
makes a
no
lot.
I have
South
no
Korea makes a
idea.
lot too. Yeah.
Uh, this is to Norm. Wushu is different than wuxia, and
Yeah.
I would
Wushu is
argue
a
that
style, right?
wushu is its
Yeah.
style of kung fu. I would argue that 2046 is not peak Wong Kar Wai. I think In the Mood for Love is peak Wong Kar Wai.
Oh.
2046 is fantastic. Also was filmed without a script. That's insane. Anyway,
Yeah.
But yes, House of Flying Daggers is an example of wuxia. Hero, I think, is a little
Yeah.
historical, little wuxia.
Yes. I will say though, I think Kate, when I've talked about this before, Denise, when you see In the Mood for Love, have a fresh blocks of like, be ready for emotions.
Don't tell me how I'm gonna feel.
Okay.
I'm not going to make those claims, Denise. I know that I need it, and I usually need a day where I don't talk to anybody because I'm emotionally raw. That movie gutted me the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
I think I got to see it at PSU's movie theater when I worked over there, and I just kind of went, "Oh, that was a mistake." I mean, it wasn't a mistake, but
it's right up there with the Killers. When Chow Yun, when they're both basically blinded at the end and they're crawling on the ground and they miss each other, not being able to connect. Yeah. Anyway, have fun. Then go watch Grave of the Fireflies.
I love that movie. But you know how much I love to be devastated by by my entertainment.
Mm-hmm. So I think the final topic that I had put forth to discuss with this. Oh,
you know what we should say before that?
Yes, I do.
Is talk about our friends at Asylum.
3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard.
Oh my God, it was so funny. So a few nights ago, we had a very old friend of Jen's and his brother over for dinner. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about furniture and stuff. We mentioned how we were finally becoming adults and we bought ourselves a table from the store, Asylum. And they want to know where it was. And Jen's like, it's across from the Baghdad. I didn't even beat. I went 3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, right across the Baghdad Theater. And then she was like, "Oh, right, you would know that, don't you?"
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And see, if I had been there, I wouldn't have done it like that way. 3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard, because I am a monster, and that's how I have to do things.
They have new holiday hours.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So they they're closed Monday, December 6th, which is pointless because we were recording on Tuesday, December 7th. They are also going to be closed Monday, December 13th and Christmas. However, the rest of the week, they are opening at noon, usually a little earlier, they said, and staying open till 4, and then very likely later, depending on foot traffic. So,
yeah.
Which is huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Lost track of what I was going to say. Which means you have plenty of opportunities to go do some gift shopping.
Mm-hmm.
Por ejemplo, they have these beautiful bookends from MoMA that overlap each other. So if you're not using them, you can tuck them all in together. You know how bookends like to nest, and they make a cool, colorful design.
Like birds?
Mm-hmm. Burbs. Barbs.
Yes. A different style of nesting. I don't know if. Yes, let's just say like birds. Bookends, like burb bookends. Burby bookends from the MoMA. Oh, now I wish that they came from a museum that had more B words in it. Beautiful bird-like bookends. They've also got some new paintings. If you're in the market for some fun, funky modern vintage paintings, they've got a couple new items to choose from there. And then these got shared a couple days ago, but I thought that they were really interesting and I'm excited about them. Are these little candle holders that are very like modern minimalist.
So cool.
They almost look like a child's stacking toy because it's concentrically sized circle-y things. And so if you flip it one way, it is big enough to hold your tea lights. And if you flip it the other way so that the smaller circles are on top, it is sized for your taper candles. So if you're having some, maybe if you're having some holiday dinner parties, or maybe you're decorating your beautiful mantle for Christmas or Hanukkah. I think Hanukkah already passed.
Hanukkah has passed, yes.
It is the year for many types of lights and lighting, and get you some gorgeous modern candle holders.
And for like some of you like older Gen Xers, the candle holders look a lot like Devo hats.
I guess I could have shorthanded it that way, yes. They're not red, though.
They are not red.
I personally like Denise's lengthy descriptions of what she's seeing on screen at Asylum. I think that is a feature and not a bug of our live reads for Asylum.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that Deb and Anton are getting their money's worth out of these ads. So I will go on for as long as you need me to about stackable bubble tea light candle holders. A box for 12 is only $10. They are clear glass. They hold your tea light candles. They are bubble shaped and they stack, you guys.
3713 Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard.
Don't forget to follow them online at facebook.com/pdxasylum.
Yeah.
That was perfect.
Yep. And we're back.
It was a beautiful live read. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so the last thing I was going to ask is, and this is very hard to word, but what is the Marvel-esque thing that you want to come out of or be related to Shang-Chi next? Like, do you want to see Shang-Chi show up in any of the other movies? Do you want there to be mention of the Ten Rings somewhere? Do you want either the Ten Rings or the Ten Rings?
Yeah.
Because that's a thing.
I think it will be really fun to pair up Shang-Chi and Katie, who are obviously going to be moving into this, bigger universe together.
Mm-hmm.
They're both funnier characters. And so rather than see them team up with other like more humory characters like Ant-Man or any of the Guardians of the Galaxy, although that would be fun too, I really want to see them get paired up with some of the like more serious, no nonsensey type Avenger characters like Doctor Strange, Wanda. I think Wanda would probably like not have it with them.
I'm actually wondering, we might actually get some more hints of Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange, because of all things, I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp also recently, and a lot of the energy in the quantum realm looks very similar to when they zoom in on the energy of the rings at the end of the movie.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's some deep cut stuff I want them to go down.
Yeah. I mean, I want Agents of Atlas from this. Just
you and me both, brother.
I just want that damn thing so bad.
I don't think it's going to happen, but who knows at this point.
It's got a talking gorilla.
I know.
And a robot. And Woo, Jimmy Woo. I mean,
I do want a reveal. Like, I do want to see Shang on screen with Jimmy Woo. I think the pairing of other Marvel superheroes that I want to see is I actually want to see him with Spider-Man, because there was a storyline in Spider-Man where Spider-Man was losing his powers, he had lost his spider sense. Mm-hmm. So he came to Shang-Chi to train him in martial arts. So he's like I have the proportionate strength of a spider. I can lift and throw a bus, but that doesn't mean I know how to actually throw a punch properly.
Right.
It's like I can punch the rhino, but I don't know how to do any of the martial arts that you do. So Shang-Chi started training him how to use his powers in a form of kung fu.
That would be pretty cool.
And I would like that's the thing that I want to see. I want to see him not only just become an Avenger, but influence the fighting styles of the next level of Avengers. Like, yeah, right. Captain Marvel can punch through an entire spaceship. What if she also knew Tai Chi?
Yeah.
What if she could do those maneuvers and with even less effort take out an entire alien armada?
Yeah. It would be fun, and I wouldn't want it to be adversarial. I'd like it to be like a fun little side scene of
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil and Shang-Chi fighting.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Like, not like angry at each other, but like a spar. Like a good little, like, whoa! Kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Like when Superman and the Flash braced each other to see who
Mhm.
was really the fastest.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or the fight we never saw at the end of Rocky 3 when Rocky had to finally pay back Apollo for training him, and they have that. They literally, the movie ends as they go to throw their punches each. And then it's referenced again in Creed, which is kind of wonderful. And even though I know you said, Bean, you didn't want a lot of the jokey stuff, the one thing I will disagree on is I would really love to see Katie and Lewis from Ant-Man recap each other's lives.
Mhm. That would be fantastic.
And just watch them. Bah, 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 bah.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like that seems a little bit easy to like
That's the
pair,
easy
like
route, yeah.
combine
Yeah.
the goofy kids with the other goofy kids. No, but what is really amusing to me is to put the funny kids with the serious kids and see how that dynamic plays out.
Oh, I would pay real money to put Katie in a room with Bucky.
That
Yeah.
would be another really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, is that a metal arm? Oh no. Do you know that this kid that runs around and plays with spiders?
Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry, I'm going to answer a question that came up a long time ago.
Oh.
As far as I know, Morris or Hunduns have never been in any Shang-Chi comics. If they're going to be, it will be in the more modern incarnation. All of the other ones, even the ones from the past 10, 15 years, have focused more on him being the best fighter and
Yeah.
not on the fantasy background. The current run focuses more on him taking over his father's organization and reuniting with his family. So it has the same overtones as the movie.
Oh, okay.
So-
Yeah, that's cool.
But
that makes
yeah,
sense,
the
too.
Hundun, that was everything. Talo and the creatures that were there. That was the modern screenwriter Callahan bringing that in.
Yeah.
Apparently, the big horse-looking things, the weird horses, he has one of those tattooed on his back. So he was
Yeah.
really happy to bring that into and put that on screen.
Speaking of some of that behind the scenes thing and that creature, can we also talk about how like Ben Kingsley also pulled like a Werner Herzog, and they were like, "I'm going to speak to the puppet. The puppeteer is an actor," and like they're like, "We can replace this little green blob." He's like, "No, I've grown quite fond of it."
It's like that's Morris. My rapport is with the puppeteer. The puppeteer knows how to make that thing emote and react. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Kingsley's speech about that I'm like, that's a man that understands the evolution of the art.
Yeah.
He's like, none of this matters. Get back to. It's like, it doesn't matter how big the story is. It doesn't matter how fantastical it is. When you look at the craftspeople building a village and putting detail that is never going to show up on screen, but the actors see it and that informs their performance.
Mm-hmm.
That's artistry. And to then claim that superhero movies aren't art is a crock of shit.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I loved Kingsley's speech about that. It was fantastic.
It was. I really appreciated that commentary.
Mhm.
And he's he's like a renowned and respected artist, and he chooses to keep coming back for this role.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that by itself says something.
That was, I think he was one of his inclusion in the cast was one of Munger Zhang's favorite things, because this is also her, much like Simu, this is her first major motion picture. This is her first IMDb credit. She comes from the stage, and so she just, as soon as she met Ben Kingsley, it's like, so tell me about Shakespeare. Tell me about the theater. Tell me everything.
she also asked him, how did you transition from theater to screen?
Mm-hmm.
And Kingsley had mentioned in another interview, he's like, she wasn't just talking to me to talk. He's like, she'd ask a question, I'd start talking, and she'd whip out a notebook, and she was taking notes on what I said. Yeah, even he had said, he's like, you guys are going to see a lot more of her for a long time.
For those people who didn't hear the announcement today, Destin Daniel Cretton they announced Shang-Chi 2. They also announced that he's directing a Disney Plus television show. They haven't announced what it is. I will bet real money it is The Ten Rings.
The Ten Rings. Yeah.
Starring Monger Zhang and Ronnie Chang.
Yeah,
And
knowing
Razor
how
Fist.
they do things these days, that seems like a really good bet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially if it's 10 episodes. It's got to be the goddamn 10 Rings. Yeah, Kingsley's right. She's a force yet to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Which is cool.
She's still one of my favorite things about the movie. And again, getting back to, you couldn't have had Shang-Chi without Simu. If Simu wasn't the actor that he was, he would have tried, his presence would have upstaged everyone else in that movie. And instead, he lets you watch him and watch everyone else at the same time. I think that says a lot to his performance and to his how he thinks about acting and his work ethic. Because Munger, you could see Munger, you could see Tony, you could see Awkwafina. All of their performances they all worked well together. It wasn't just Simu's movie.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Which I would like to tell him someday in person.
Well, that'd be nice.
I would.
Plans for
I don't know what he's
2022.
talking
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a pretty good spot to wrap up the show.
I think so.
Yeah.
What do we want to talk about next week?
I'm not sure. Well, Bean, you're out for the next 2 weeks, right?
No, not yet.
That's
be here. I'll be around next week, but then the last 2 of the year, I will be out of town. I had to work around the holidays and
right.
Busy flight days, and did not really take into consideration how many Tuesdays I would miss at the end of the year.
That's all right. I also forgot that December is like a 5 Tuesday month for us.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Did you want to do? Bebop?
Will we be ready for Bebop next week?
I may not be, but I'll still talk about it.
I mean, we can do it without spoilers. I'm sure that there's still a lot that can be said.
I actually don't care about spoilers on this at all.
Okay.
I've watched the animated series. I'm currently watching the animated series. So
yeah, and they stick pretty close to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much
for
what
better
I'm
or worse, which gives a hint about next week if we talk about Bebop.
I think that would be a good topic, and it's
it's
still relevant, and talk. I think it's important that this show talks about a show that's led by an Asian American, a Korean American, a Mexican American, and an African American.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, I would love for my month to be only Asian-led media. And for my last show of the year to be Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, that works for me. God, that music's always so good. And then just a really quick thing before we sign off, because we talked about Ben Kingsley, and I'm trying to think in my head when was the last time. I mean, he's always great, but then I remembered him in Sexy Beast, and also forgot that he can be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Terrifying.
Never seen that either.
Oh man! First off, he's kind of ripped in it, and he was already in his 50s by then.
Yeah.
Beast or beasts?
Beast, sexy
okay,
beast.
There we go.
Sexy
the internet
beast.
really wants me to be looking for Sexy Beasts, the British reality show, and I'm like, that can't be what he means.
No.
Oh yeah, I've never seen this.
Yeah. He.
It's been so long. I'm due for a rewatch on that.
Yeah, I think he got nominated for Best Actor for that one too. But yeah, no, he's putting on a show in that movie.
Ian McShane is in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, what's going on the list?
Yeah. Anyway, I think with that, I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm Pinarita.
And I am Cable Hashitani.
And we will talk to everybody next week. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Let's jam.